Yay! So I don't
Well,
mind
I'm
being up
sorry to
early.
get you out of bed at 6 a.m.
No,
That
it's
would
good.
make
It's
me
good.
furious.
No, I'm fine because I chose the appointment and I wanted to get it done. I couldn't wait, so it's my own fault.
Okay. So, well, it's your birthday, so you get as many karma points as years you're willing to admit being old. That's how it works.
Oh, I'm 34.
Well, there you go. You get at least half an hour then.
Yay!
Yay. And you can redeem that anytime for whatever you want. So, okay, I
Excellent.
have all your stuff up. Let's go into the community.
Okay.
And we went from I want to join and learn how to do different kinds of photography to I love everything macro, which I love. And then you furthered
Oh,
that by going, and I'm going to bring bugs.
yeah, I'm sorry about that.
Yeah, it's okay. You're fired. You just lost all those karma points.
Uh, I
Okay,
didn't know
so
how your sorry.
that's okay. What were you going to say?
I wasn't sure how your hangouts are structured because I'm just used to Ron's, and this is what we used to do, bring photos to Crit. But what I've done is taken some of the photos out so we can fit in some just normal chat as well.
Yeah, we'll roll through them, but we'll definitely have some time for
Chat too.
regular
Cool.
critique as well. So,
Excellent.
okay, so tell me about your macro experience and tell me a little about creating the images and how you're feeling getting into it.
Okay, I'm super excited. I didn't, I've always liked macro, but I didn't know where to start or how to get into it or what even style suited my work. And then in the last month that I've been doing it here, something crazy happened, and I don't know, I've gone ballistic on it. I don't know how that happens. But so with this one, I was just taking photos of weeds outside in the yard. And I
Mhm.
thought to myself, that looks like the seeds are coming off that plant, like it's dying and the seeds have gone to pasture. And then I looked up close and realized it was millions of tiny bugs. And yeah, I'm sorry that there's bugs there, but this is a pretty cool picture.
Mm, you know, and I was like, I saw like it looks like a little ant guy hanging out down here,
Yeah.
but I didn't actually realize that all of these are bugs. So yeah, now you lose a karma point for every bug that's in this image.
Well, there goes
Um,
my 34 points then.
Yeah, and then some. No, but I totally get what you mean because I've done that before where I've gone to photograph something up close, and there's been like little bugs or little things on it that I didn't even notice. Like I went to
Mm.
photograph like the stamen of one of the flowers, and there was a perfect drop of water right in the center of the stamen on the inside of the flower. Like you couldn't have like made
Planned it
it
better.
any more perfect. And I was
Wow.
like, you just couldn't see it with the naked eye. So I love the world that it opens up. And I'm a huge fan of this as an image in general. I love the lighting and the texture on it, and the depth of field. I think that it really works. I'm not a huge fan of whatever this is behind it. And this is where like I start going crazy. Like I murder plants for my macro shots now when I'm playing with them. Like if something's in and I'm like, oh, I don't like that. Like I'll go find what that is and I will tear it out, like or bend it or get out of my shot. I'm ruthless. So, I think it would be really tough to go in and post and take it out, especially around some of these details. And the problem with that is you would start to lose like the little
Detail.
antenna and things here.
Yeah.
Um, so I'm not sure what we could do with that, but that's also entirely probable that it's just personal preference for me
Hmm.
there. But I
That's why
do love all the texture here.
That's why those ones stayed, because after I bought it back from Silver Effects, I spent a lot of time removing the color out of the background and getting rid of the other distractions. But that part that you specifically pointed out was just too much work, and it looked like when I did finally do it, it looked like a sticker stuck on black card, like it
Okay.
lost its
Yeah, I hear
depth.
you.
Hmm.
Oh, you're just like, okay. So tell me about this one.
The 50 mil that I told you I was going to go play with on my camera that I've never used. Pretty
Hmm.
sure this is this one. And wow, I didn't know that lens was. Is it? Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
the
There it
50
is.
mil 1.8.
Wow, I didn't know that thing was capable of this. This one's barely touched. Like I didn't edit anything except for a crop and a tiny bit of clarity to bring out just around the base of the actual flower itself. That's it,
Yeah.
really.
I
That
would
thing's
have loved
crazy.
to have, I would have loved to have seen you actually drop the f-stop down further. Like you have it at 4 right now, and I think
Mhm.
if we had blurred it just a little more,
Yep.
maybe even just 2.8,
Okay.
I think it would have really, really popped because there's so much green in the image, you know,
Hmm.
because it's like a plant and behind it is plants, and that's what they
Mm.
do. They were green.
Yes.
So I think if we had taken out just a little bit more of the detail, that it would have been even stronger. But I still think it's phenomenal.
Thank you. Oh, my
I
favorite.
love this one. I love this one.
It was a cold, shitty day, and I was just like scoping around the backyard trying to find bugs, and I found this one, and he was all snuggled up in his blanket. All I did was just take the photo, and that was it. It was so cute. I
I
didn't.
love it. So this
I
was
just cropped
natural.
it.
You didn't pose it.
No, it was like that already.
That's awesome.
It was
I
just pure
love
luck.
the Yeah, I love the varying texture, and whatever you did in post to pull it out a little bit more, it almost looks like scales or tiles in the leaves.
Mm,
And then the contrast of that with the longer strokes of the shell, yeah, this one just works. I love it.
I love that one too. It's my favorite, I think. So black and white, decided to give that a go. Struggled with this one because there are so many of the little buds in the background. So I had to go through and use Gaussian blur and drop those back a bit to bring the flowers forward. It was
Mhm.
a Alan Shapiro inspired piece.
Yeah, I see him in this, a little bit of the monochrome garden in here.
Mm. So yeah, I just basically converted to black and white in Silver FX Pro, dropped the furthest buds away back with some Gaussian blur and did some burning and on the highlights in the background, so as to set them back.
Yeah, I think it works. You definitely have the general idea of the editing process too to really make it pop. And obviously you're going to be attracted to whatever's brightest. I almost want to tone down this just a little bit, just to pull out a little more of the texture, because we just start losing a very, very subtle bit of some of the highlights, I think,
Hmm.
in some of these. So I think you could probably go in and just pull back the highlights just a little bit, just to give it a little bit more texture and oomph there.
Okay,
But overall, I think it works.
excellent. Hmm. I don't know about this one. This one was hard. This was taken a long time ago, and it's something I always wanted to work on, but I didn't know how to make it work. And because the flowers are, I didn't shoot it correctly, so I had to field blur out the flowers on the left to drop them
Hmm.
back, and then take the saturation and the brightness out of them to push them back further. And then I Gaussian blurred them as well, in hope that it would bring the other flower forward, but kind of struggled. I put some brightness and clarity on the flower on the right. It was just basically a good exercise to see if I could manage to get out of it what I wanted, and not exactly. And now that I've spent time studying macro and stuff, I would definitely shoot this differently. So I guess that's the lesson to take out of this one.
Yeah, but that's really good. I'm always a big fan of when you have an image that you're like, maybe I can do something with this. Like playing with it is definitely a learning thing.
Yep,
But it's also a good lesson for the get it right in camera kind of thing, because there's only so much you can do, no matter how much your talent is. Like you can't fix the composition and um, the shot itself. Like you do still have to work with what you have.
that's
Um,
right.
and and I think that that's probably a little bit of what you're struggling with. But I think for, working with what you have, that you did a really good job at pulling it back, if most of this is in post. And I'm happy to see that you're paying attention, because something that a lot of people lose sight of. I've seen people do composites where they'll composite in birds in the background behind the person, and they
Mhm.
don't realize that the birds should be blurred because everything on that visual plane is blurred.
Yeah.
and out of focus. So that's a lot of the reason why they stick out and look like a composite. And the other thing I see people do is that they'll blur it, but they won't realize that they have to reduce the light in order to pull it back as well. So you did everything right in post that you should have paid attention to with this shot. It's just honestly the shot's a throwaway. But it's like the first boudoir session. Like it's good for you to go back and go look at this, and then look at the fact that the same artist that created this is now creating this. And that, and what a short span it is.
Another one from 2013 that I wanted to. I always had this idea, but I back then didn't know how to achieve it. So I wanted the blur to be on the fronds on the outside of the plant and moving out of the frame. So that's exactly what I did. I did like a field blur, and then a smudge. Use the smudge tool to drag out the leaves because I wanted it to look like they were moving and blurring out. And then I did that on 2 planes of the image, so you kind of got dual movement. And then left the center and brought the clarity out of the center, so that part stayed like the strong point of the focus.
I'm not a huge fan.
Honestly,
I'm not a huge fan of this one and the motion blur because it's not motion, so it just looks like you moved with the camera. It looks like the photographer shifted because we're not expecting the plant to shift. It's a little hot in the center, but I like that it's lighter in the center because it draws you into it. I do think that this is a really interesting shot. I think it might have actually been a little stronger if you were directly over top of it so that you could fall in rather than it kind of being off to this side. And I don't mind that we blurred the outer ones and that it gets sharper as it goes in. I'm just not a huge fan of like the sort of radial blur thing that we have going on. On some of the outside ones. Mostly because of how vision works and the fact that you can't have like this much blur here when this leaf and this leaf and this leaf are all essentially on the same playing field because they're in that row of petals or leaves coming back, so they should all be essentially the same. So it doesn't quite work visually. This one, honestly, like this is great, and I love that you're bringing older work and that you're playing with it and testing because you're getting much better at shooting. So going back and working on images where you weren't quite as good in camera is a really good way to strengthen your Photoshop skills. So I love that you're doing this. But if we were looking and picking out images, pretty much everything from probably a month ago further back is not going to make portfolio now because you've come so far in such a short time. So I'm pretty sure Bruce needs to teach at the Arcanum because whatever he's talking to you about is working.
I added this one because this was actually, if I have to be honest, when I shot this in 2014, this was one of the ones that kind of led me down the road to macro. But I always had this idea in my head, which I'm not sure if it's successful in this one, of warm and cool light playing in an image instead of just shadows and darks. So this I focused the camera on the flower with the lights on, and then I turned the lights off. It's backed onto like black cloth, and then I used one torch with like an LED light that's the cool light, and then I used another torch with a warm light on the front. So I think it was like 3 seconds per side per torch, and exposed for the image that way. And then so I tried to, it's basically an experiment in light and warmth, but not photoshopping it in, making it happen with actual light sources. So that was just one that if you had any ideas that I could,
No, I love the concept. I love more that you're playing with it in camera because there's plenty of people that like duotone and sort of split tone images like that. The only thing I think it's a little hot right here, and this shape of light distracts me from the flower. Right. So I think like the positioning right here, it's this one right here and it's this one up here that I think the light is a little bit harsh. Whereas when you get back to this one, this is a really good variation of it because you have the warmth on the other side, but the blue, but it's not hot and cold in terms of the amount of light and exposure. Does that,
Okay.
do you follow?
Yes. Yep. Okay.
I love the texture of it, and I'd be interested for you to recreate this experiment, and play with it now and see what you would get now that you're playing better macro, because I think your eye has changed for the shot too, and your ability to really grip and grab in and pull out a lot more of the texture of the petals, which I would love to see. The only other thing that grabs me is this might be like a leaf on the back of the stem or something, but I would just go in and dodge that out and leave it black here so that the flower is the only thing.
Okay.
But I love the cool and the warmth, and I love the duality and the personality that gives the flower. I think you're definitely onto something. And I would love to see you take that and redo that challenge now that we've had, another 2 years of growth as an artist, essentially.
Yep. Okay, cool. This is just an experimental one too, with multiple like leaves or fronds on a plant, having them in varied stages of focus. So at the start of the frond on the plant, it's blurred, and then halfway up, it's in focus, and then further up, it's in, blur again. It was just a pure experiment, but also to in depth of field sense.
Are you happy with it?
Yes, in a grungy way I am, because that's generally seems to be what I tend to lean towards. But yeah, my idea was I just wanted an honest opinion on whether you think it's a successful idea or something I could look into or not.
I would say that this is probably one of my favorites that I've seen so far in this critique.
Oh, good.
I like the color variation. It's got a sort of muted tonality to the whole image, but because it's the green in the background, this really stands out. And I like the different variations in texture. I think it makes it very interesting. And it's an interesting shaped plant to have all these little fronds. So I like that rather than just having one of them in focus, which is what I would expect to see from most macro, that, we're getting each one is sort of having its place of importance as sort of a supporting cast rather than one frond being the star of it. So yeah, I definitely think that you hit the mark with this.
Excellent. I think I might try to make a series of those too. Like I need to find the right plants, but yeah, that's an idea that I've had ongoing for a while as well now.
I love it.
Cool. Another one, animals and working in macro. I'm interested in doing this. So this is a whole piece of work. This took hours. It was shot on late in the afternoon, lying flat on the grass. So I took the photo. He was actually dying. He has my cat. Damaged his eyeball. That's what's going on with his eye there. And he was on his way out. And I thought, you know what, I might just quickly grab the last few pictures before he departs this wonderful world. Then I took it into Photoshop and color changed it, everything from green to red, because I wanted it to have this feeling of fire and danger and red tones, basically. Then I Gaussian blurred out the leaves and pushed them back, and then I laid a not a filter, what do you call it? Oh, texture.
Like a texture.
Yeah, and then did more Gaussian blurring, and then brought him forward some more, and then burnt off the edges and gave it like a custom vignette. And then I loved it so much I printed it on a canvas and hung it on my wall.
I love that you're letting your cat kill things so that you can take pictures of them.
Yes, I'm a little bit sadistic.
No, listen, bugs, I'm okay with it.
Okay.
No, I think that this one has a very painterly kind of quality to it with the overlay that you've done, and it's very surreal because we went red instead of the green. And I think that it works very, very well here. I think the texture works. It's not overpowering, which I think a lot of texture overlays are on different images. And it doesn't take away from the crispness of the fact that it's a macro, because that's why I really love macro, is all these like crisp, clean details that you don't usually see with the naked eye.
Mhm.
And I feel like you kept a lot of that in, and the texture complements that rather than distracting from that. So I think this one works really, really well. I also think that this is a very sellable image. So if we were looking at you know, you have this sort of dichotomy going on that I think small things, small creatures in nature is going to be a strength for you as far as your macro direction, because I think the snail works really well. I think the bugs in the first image work really well, even though I wouldn't buy it. You know, this one I would almost consider. Dragonflies, I don't mind as much, but those two elements together in an image is a visual strength for yours. You capture them really well.
That's my that makes me really happy because that gives me another idea for another series I had called Hell Bugs. I've got the name already, but I haven't actually thought of it. But
I
yeah,
love it.
different sets of bugs in like a hell scene. So that's another idea I've had ticking around as well.
I like it.
Old school, dewdrops and roses. You can't go wrong. That's an old one as well. But I focus stacked this one. So I
Okay.
went through doing, I think it was about 6 to 7 frames. And yeah, just got lucky with the dewdrops in the morning sun. This is kind of a typical image that you see for macro, and I just wanted to put it in because some of my other macro stuff is a little bit edgier and pushing towards the unusual. So I wanted to make sure that I leveled it out with, like, you know, I can do normal stuff too.
Well, that's not necessarily a good thing, because now you're taking, like, if we have the other images that are sort of the creature versus nature kind of element, and we have the more artsy kind of feel to it, and then you throw this in, that actually dilutes the potency of your recognizable.
Okay.
So, like, if you put those images together and I saw a bunch of them and saw this one, I wouldn't assume it's from the same artist. So you actually start to confuse your followers as to what your focus is.
Oh, okay.
The other thing is, yes, you are right. Dewdrops on roses, can't go wrong. Oh, it's so pretty, and 80 million people have already done it. So I'm not. I'm. That's never a good reason. Like, if you go, oh, you can't go wrong with this, then everybody thinks you can't go wrong with it, which means it's wrong and you shouldn't do it. Like, I would imagine in boudoir, like hand bras and caution tape and the heel through like the back of the panties, like those are all cliches that make like the rest of us cringe because everybody does them.
Yeah.
Angel wings, ugh. I'm pretty sure dewdrops on roses are like the macro version of that. So
Okay. Avoiding those at all costs then.
love
Right.
this one.
New ones.
Okay.
Yesterday, the day before. Oh, apparently 20 days ago. I was, yeah, just in the backyard and I saw this beautifully formed, I don't know what's that called, a dandelion?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
wish
And
you.
then look at his tiny little thing just hanging on the side, holding on for dear life. And I was
Mhm.
like, the perfect details. Anyway, handheld, just shot it on my 50 mil again, and thought, yeah, no, that's not gonna, like, surely that'll be blurry. And then I pulled it into Photoshop and was astounded it came out well. So what did I do? I dropped back the saturation in the background, gave it a bit more of a Gaussian blur so it was receded because I suffered with that problem you mentioned before. It was too
Mhm.
green. Brought
Yeah.
forward some clarity on the head of the dandelion and on that little stamen that's just hanging off the side there, if that's what that's called. And yeah, just liked it because it's pretty.
I like this one a lot. I definitely think that the single seed is the star of the photo. And what would make it different from all the other dandelion ones that we've seen. So I think it would be really interesting for you to go, and this might actually be stronger in black and white because of the texture, but I'd like to see you go in and in the same way that we were playing with the older ones, and we kind of like blurred and dulled these back.
Mhm.
I don't necessarily want to see you blur them, but I think if you took some of the sharpness of the color out of them and took the highlights down and let the focus be on this one so that it really stood apart from them, that would make it a lot more visually interesting and unique as a picture.
Okay. I'll have to give that a go.
I'd be curious. I'd be curious to see you play with this one a little more, because I think the composition's there and you have all the elements, but I do feel like, because that was the first thing I noticed too, is this one, but you kind of lose it in the highlight and color of everything else too. So I think if we found a way to pull this back even further and really, really make this stand out as the star of the image, that it would be more visually interesting.
Okay.
Okay.
That one again. So playing with color this time, because I noticed in spending my time reviewing people's work, which is what I've been trying to do lately, a lot of people have macro with colored backgrounds and laid over color. So I wanted to experiment with that too. So I really like these paper daisies, but I couldn't find any anywhere because it's winter now. So using the old one worked. Yeah, just basically a magenta layer, and then over the top more field blur. It was basically just playing with composition and seeing if I could make that layer, the colored layer, successful, because I keep seeing this everywhere, and yeah, it was interesting to me.
I think that this one is stronger than the other image from the series that you got. I also think that it works better because these two are behind it. And with the other one, there seems to be one in front and one behind, but we're still blurring them both. And it's visually confusing because that's not the way we see. So
Okay.
I do think that it's stronger. As far as critique, you just have to be careful when you're adding blur in post, because we're getting blur around the edges of the petals. And that's really, really hard to not get. You actually, one of the, maybe Bruce will have a better way around this, but usually when I do this, what I'll do is I'll actually create a separate layer and I'll go in and actually get rid of the petals here. So if I went in and cropped loosely around and left like a good 20% of the outlining away, and got rid of that, I'll just take it in and clone in whatever the background is around it. And then the overlay, I'll have it, and then I can blur the background. And because the petals aren't in the shot anymore, because I've cut them off here, they aren't there to create the blur. Because what you have is like a highlight. I'll have to show you the next time we do a group hangout. I'll take one in and pull it. But I get this a lot when I blur backgrounds too, because the problem is when you're blurring the background, even when you cut it out, like you only want to cut it out to the edge here, because if you go further, then you start to pull in the detail information in the back. So what you actually have to do is take this petal completely out of the shot in order to not have the halo there. So you can do that on a separate layer. And I'll do a tutorial and show you how I do that. And maybe somebody else watching will have a better way to do it, but that's how I taught myself to do it, because that makes me crazy.
Okay. Cool. Right, last one. This one from yesterday. So I once again playing with trying to find my style. I went for something dark, and this took a lot of work actually. It's just a weed, a milk thistle, I think they're called. And so I darkened off the entire image and left the flower in focus, and then started laying down a magenta layer and then a blue layer, and then I boosted the blues in the shadows, and then there's probably 5 layers of blur, and then I wanted it to have painterly look in the background and be strong and in focus in the front. So I, in different spots of the base of the flower, I pushed it back with a blur and some darkness, and took the highlights out of the leaves in the background. Just basically experimenting with trying to find a style for these kinds of images.
I like that the petal or the leaves are running back. It reminds me of like little kids, how they always throw their hands back when they think they're flying, when they're playing make-believe. I think that this is your story right here, and I think that this leaf particularly takes away from it. I would be interested to go in and pull the background and just kind of cut that out right along here so that it's the stem. and just these two leaves visually, because I think this is weighing down the flower, which is what you want to be like the head of it.
Okay.
So it has almost that little like that humanizing element to it. Same thing this little one here would go. I like the color variation. I like the pop of the yellow on the blue and green with the background. I think that works. The yellow's just a little oversaturated, I think, but it's like a hairline. Like I'd only pull it back like ever so slightly. And again, that depends on what you're doing, but I think in print that would come out, you'd lose some of the color potency if you weren't working with a very, very good printer and calibrated to their systems. I think you'd get a lot of oversaturation in these yellows. But overall, I like it.
Excellent.
So, I think
that's it.
I think from the group, the snail, the dragonfly, your little frondy finger thing, and the dandelion with the seed on the end. I think those are my favorites. And honestly, I really like this one too. I love the coloring in it. Even though it's an old image, I love that color style, and I would like to see more of that coming into your post-processing. Because if you look at it, I do see similarities between the way that this is colored with what's saturated and what's kind of muted and in and out of focus. And I see a little bit of that show up in the dragonfly one too. Even though they're vastly different images and subject matters, and the way that you texturized is different, if you look at them side by side, I could see a whole series with that kind of color saturation and color washing, because it's really like red is the overall color here. And I would say like it's almost like a golden pink kind of feel here. So I would be interested to see more of your work kind of follow a color scheme like that.
Okay. That's not as easy to achieve, I've discovered. Well, the dragonfly was natural for me. That was fine. But with the paper daisy, that color washing idea is kind of, it's hard to get right.
Yeah, it definitely is.
So it's,
but I think that you accomplished it there.
Thank you.
And I think that it'll be easier for you to do now when you're working on newer images, because it does make a difference when you're getting them right in camera.
Okay. Excellent. So, well, I'm very happy that that was, I just wanted to basically show where I started in macro and what I thought was good back in the day and how I feel like I'm progressing. And it's coming along. It seems to be a thing now, and I don't even know how that happened. It's weird how all of a sudden you just go and find something and then you're like, wow, had this not appeared to me before?
I think that was the thing, and it's interesting because you got a little frustrated and kind of like backed off the sphere map, because originally we started with the idea that we were going to test all these different things and see if we could find your thing. And as soon as we played with macro and you went, yeah, maybe I'll do that, like that was it. I haven't heard from you since. It's just macro and macro and macro, Bruce, look, macro. And like, and that's what we're looking for, you know? That's exactly what I was hoping we were going to find, was something that you felt that way about. So, you know, have we found your thing?
Maybe, I think so. I just want to make sure that I've got my, and here's that part of me that needs to go. I want to make sure that I've got the right style for it. Like, that's that part of me that I need to work on, that you keep pointing out, my insecurities.
Well, for right now, and you know, that all comes with like the business and the marketing and stuff, which we can definitely discuss later, but like really, like you've been at it for like a couple of weeks. That's it. And you're producing work that I feel is sellable already. So all of the other things that you have played in, all the different genres and things, all the knowledge that you've taken from that is definitely feeding in and shortening the learning curve, even though it's a new genre for you for the most part. I think your style will develop naturally. I'm already seeing signs of it. You know, and you brought a good number of images to critique, but at the same time, it's 6, 12, 13. It's only 13 images. And I would say you probably have, you know, a couple hundred that you've taken. Like, you need a couple thousand, you know, you need
Okay.
a couple thousand frames that you've fired off in your camera. And you need, you know, I'd say right now, if we looked at every image you've ever created from the time you picked up a camera to now, that we would have probably a couple hundred images to choose from that you go, well, I like this one, and I really like this one, and I love this one. And so what's portfolio worthy? You know, if
Yep.
we narrow that down to just macro, the list that you have to choose from is going to be really small. So when we're looking at 13 images, I'm looking at it and saying, right now, I see 3 that really fit that I would put on your page if I was trying to sell you. Maybe 4. Because
Okay.
I do really like the dandelion one too. The rest of them you could let go. And if we take those images and put them together, then we start to see the style develop. So for me, it would be the dragonfly, it would be the snail, it would be maybe the dandelion, and it would be the last one with the flowers. Now, if I take this one and put it next to this one, we start to have a color theory thing going on. So I'm starting to see your color personality and post-processing emerge from there. I'm also seeing the smaller things with this. You also have a little bit of the Fibonacci sequence going on in geometric. You know, I don't know if you know anything about sacred geometry and repeating patterns in nature, but you have
Yep.
some of that going on as well. So we have like that coming in, and then we have the more geometric shape with these kind of flowers, which also shows up here. So it's those kind of common elements that I'm looking for, but we have the little thing in nature, the little thing in nature. And then even though this is supposedly just nature, we have this little thing in nature. So it's this one seed in the midst of all the other seeds. So like part of your subject style, I think, is going to be in the midst of, you know, and whatever
Okay.
that is. So I would love to see the rest of the sphere just be you building a macro portfolio and really just kind of playing and sort of finding your style and your thing. And I'm fine with the rest of sphere 2 literally being go out and shoot and bring a bunch of images and
Okay.
see what you come up with, and then we can just play with that.
Okay.
How are you feeling about it, and what would you like to do?
I think that sounds awesome. I was pretty excited about the pet shooting idea, and then the lady that I was going to go around and take photos of her pets for is very heavily pregnant, so it keeps getting put back. So I keep getting directed by the universe back onto macro. So I'm happy as to keep doing macro for the rest of this sphere, and to develop some of the set ideas that I have, or not set, but collection ideas that I have going on, and see how they go. I'm
I
super happy
love
with that.
I love the idea of you, if you have the idea for the collection, I love the idea of you coming up with a very strong concept of what the collection's going to be and the different elements that you're looking to add into it and what that collection will say, and that kind of thing. And then spending the rest. So maybe that's your next level. Let's do that. Like, come up with a concept for a thing. Imagine I'm a gallery and I'm willing to do a show of just your work, and I would like a full proposal of what you would like to put together as your project.
Okay. And
Can
that
we
would
do
be like
that?
a series of 10 images or something.
Yeah, you can pick. I would say for a full gallery, I'd want to see at least 18.
Okay. And then so I would just, I think it will be the dragonfly bug idea that seems to keep coming to the forefront for me right now. And then probably the next one might be the warm and cool light idea as the next series after that. But I think it will be the bugs in hell nature right now.
Okay.
Do you
I'm gonna
reckon, or
have
no?
Bruce. I'm gonna have Bruce do all the rest of your critiques, though. If you're gonna do nothing but bugs.
Sorry, I keep forgetting about the bug problem. I'll try to
No, it's
pick pretty
fine.
ones.
No, they can't. They can't get me if they're in a photo, so it's fine. It's only when they're buzzing around. So if you want to do the hell bugs, I think that's super cute. I'm super excited to see you play some more with the light versus warm versus cool in camera. I think that's a really neat concept.
Okay.
I
That
think
one's a
I
lot of
think
fun.
whichever one Yeah, I think whichever one appeals to you more right now is what you should do because I would like to keep the energy and the momentum up. I think you should shoot for about 18 images, and I would love to see you storybook it a little and kind of come up with at least a general concept of what you're looking for. What kind of bugs are they all going to be in this sort of red, orange, fire kind of thing, or can we play with blue flyer and other elements as well? Is it coal? Is it smoke? What are the other elements that we're doing with that? Are they all going to be insect bugs, or do snails count? And are they just small creatures? Would we consider like a frog or something else? So going and just kind of figuring that out. But just basically write me up like a proposal of, I'm going to have 18 images. They're all following this theory. And the reason that they're hell bugs is because, like, tell it about the artist, about the project, the symbolism behind it, whatever it is that you want to do, and just create like a one-page proposal for it. And then the rest of the sphere would be spent on creating those images. So if we're going to do 18 images, you're at level 24 now. If this is 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, I would say like three to four images per level, then finished images
Okay.
with the
Sounds
series.
Yep.
And I would plan to have, if we have 4 levels, I would say bring 5 images and we'll pick your 3 to 4
Yes.
best. So 5 images at 4 levels will give you 20,
Yep.
And that'll give us time to weed some of them out and to build a really strong portfolio.
Okay. I haven't, I've always thought about creating a collection, and I tried in the past, but it was successful, but it's kind of hard to maintain a story in a set of images. So that will be a good challenge for me. I'll have to spend some time focusing on storytelling, because that's kind of something that I lack, I feel like, when it comes to macro, is making sure there's a good story there.
Well, and storyboarding is a little bit different than storytelling. So it's not like it has to be a book with it doesn't have to follow a storyline necessarily. The story can be the bugs, in this sort of fiery setting. But definitely having just a general breakdown of what the series represents or why it's important. Like, what if you only photographed endangered bugs?
Okay.
Or like find something to attach it to that people can get emotionally invested in. Besides just that, ooh, that's a really neat photo. Like, that's step 1. But if you find a way to emotionally invest them in it, that's when the sales start happening.
So how does that work with bugs?
There's plenty of people that love bugs. I'm just not one of them. Like, there is a huge thing. I don't know if it's over there, but over here, like, there's a huge thing going on right now with how fast the honeybees are dying out, and the fact that they're becoming close to extinct.
Yep.
And it's a worldwide epidemic, but like America is very, very focused on that right now. And like, you can't kill them now here. It's like, it's illegal. Like, you can't do it. And if they have swarms of bees, they have to call a beekeeper in that can smoke them out and move them safely without harming them. And like, it's a whole big thing. So, pollination is important. You could attach it to any number of different natural causes, from climate control to endangered species of plants and pollination and ecosystems and life and things like that. Or it could have something to do with the tiny world that we don't see. Like all those bugs you thought were seeds on the end of the thing, and they're all these little bugs on the end of the same. And like, what else aren't we seeing in life, kind of thing. Like, you can attach it to any number of things that do or don't have to do with bugs. As long as you understand the symbolism and you can make the connection for others to connect to, they'll connect to it.
The honeybee thing actually gives me an idea, because yesterday when I was running around the backyard shooting, I saw a honeybee and was like, oh, how cute, took some photos. And you're right, that is a thing here too at this point in time. It is an epidemic that there's no bees and they're hard to find. And maybe I could make a set on those too somehow. The plight of the bee.
Yep. I love it.
It could happen. And you can deal with that, right? Because it's
Yeah.
just a bee and they're cute.
So my whole thing with like the phobia of bugs is because I was locked in an attic when I was little. I got stuck up in an attic, like the ladder didn't go down, and there was
Yeah.
a wasp nest up there, and I got stung and had like wasps crawling in my hair, and ever since then I've been terrified. It's the buzzing sound.
That sounds like a
So
horror
that's
movie.
it is. It's awful, and everybody makes fun of me for it because as soon as I hear it, it's like I'm like, no! Like I'm totally that person. Like so.
You have a valid reason. Don't feel bad about that. Ugh.
Yeah. So no, honeybees are not okay. But they are like, then there's the other side of me that goes, they make honey and they're just trying to live too. And they don't all want to kill me, just most of them. So,
That's right. And then we steal their
that could
house
be your
and
whole story. Your whole story could be, how do I pass the spear when I want to photograph bugs and my master hates them?
oh, that's a challenge in itself. I may as well just quit now.
Yeah, what if you do that? What if you do horrific bugs? What if you make all these bugs look like super like badass biker bugs that would be, or like terrorist bugs, and like the whole thing is to make them as scary as possible, and they're like demon bugs, and that's why, because they're all actually monsters. Like that would be a great one.
Oh,
But like whatever the story is that you come up with, and maybe like put something up on your social media and be like, why are bugs awesome?
give me an
Or why
answer.
are they
Yeah.
terrible? Tell me
Yeah.
about bugs. Bugs. First thought that comes to your mind. Like, and somebody will say something that'll make you go, oh, I could totally do something with that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, like a poll or a whatever it is on Facebook question.
Yeah, I'm all about it.
I
So,
haven't actually done that on my page, so I might do that because at this stage I just post photos and sometimes tutorials and stuff from other people, but I haven't, like, it's another level of interaction, I guess.
yeah, I like it.
Good idea.
All right.
Okay.
What else did you want to chat about?
What else? I think we just covered pretty much everything. I'm still waiting for my hangout with Alan. I have bugged him on Google Plus, and we just have to work out a time. It's so hard because he's on the other
Yeah.
side of the world. But
Yep.
I'm
You
super
might have to get
excited
up
about
at
that.
6 a.m. again.
I will do it happily. It's not a problem.
I'm trying to elbow him down to come to my retreat this weekend too. So we'll see if I get him down. Maybe we'll send you a chat or a video link.
Oh,
Okay.
yay.
So same
Have
thing
fun
though.
at
Like
that
we
too.
love each other, and we can never figure out when we're getting when we're
When
getting
you,
together.
yeah,
It's
it's
the price of
hard.
being successful. He's always so busy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, he's got like 10 irons in the fire at any given time. So him making time is not to be taken lightly.
Yeah,
I'm always super flattered anytime he makes time. So
that's
okay.
awesome. I'm jealous.
So you're making the story proposal, and then we're shooting images for the rest of the sphere too. Lots and
Yes.
lots of macro all over the place. Explore it
Yay.
fully. I like it.
I'm excited.
Good, me too.
Yeah.
Okay, well, happy birthday tomorrow.
Thank
I'm
you.
excited for you. And I guess I will talk to you when you get back then and have some images to show.
That's right. So it'll probably be a couple of days now because once I get back, I'll go back to work and go back to work for
Perfect.
the man. One day, though, I
Sounds
won't be
good.
doing that.
We'll get you there sooner than you think.
I had so much fun yesterday. I just got up, picked up the camera straight away, walked out the back, started taking photos of things, and then got in here, sat down, did some editing, and it was 12 o'clock. And I was like, this is what it's like to do what you love every day. This must be
That's
magical for some
exactly.
people.
That's exactly what it's like. We'll get you there. If it's not a shiny new thing, if you don't burn out on the macro or go, okay, that was fun. Because some
Yep.
people do, like they're like, ooh, new genre. And then in a couple of weeks, they're like, so if you're maintaining this and in a couple of weeks, a couple of months, if after another 5,000 shutter fires, you're like, ooh, macro. I got all day to play macro. Then we found your thing, and then we'll work on building a business around that.
Okay. How exciting.
I'm excited. Yeah.
Yay.
Okay. All right. Well,
Cool.
then have a good birthday, and I will talk to you next week sometime.
Thank you. Have a
All
great
right.
time at the retreat.
All right. Bye, Amanda.
See you. Bye.